Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. I am your host, Michael Karvelis, and this is Daily Dive. It is Monday, April 27th, 2026, and this show begins now. We are live streaming via the airwaves of North American Talk Radio on YouTube. Thank you so much for subscribing and checking out our other great videos and shows and live sports, etc. On today's episode, we're going to first talk to Captain, as we will be talking to him about the Swarm taking down the Bandits and the Seals winning against the Mammoth in overtime. Maybe a controversy. I don't know. The league thinks there's one too. So is the coach of the Mammoth. One of the coaches of Colorado, by the way. We'll also talk to Captain about the next couple of series, including who do you trust more between Halifax and Georgia, and the biggest challenge that San Diego gives Toronto. Also, who wins each series? We will also be showing press conferences or bits of press conferences that I got when I was in Duluth, and that's why my voice is hoarse, because when I go to games as a media member, I become a fan and I yell. So there were 17 goals to yell for, and it was crazy. Head over to natalkradio.us/NLL if you're a United States lacrosse fan that wants to shop NLL merch. There's also a Canadian way to do it, but we will show that next show. Hopefully we can get a hyperlink to that one as well, but that is the way to support the show right here if you're from the United States, or if you want to just click on and shop on Amazon anyways, natalkradio.us/NLL. Let's bring in a man who probably felt it a little bit more than just fandom, because he might have been betting a couple of these games. Captain had a fun weekend, and I feel bad for him. Let's bring it in. Captain Picks, how you doing, sir?
Listen, Timmy Dillon, it's Captain. I'm buddy, help me out, man. I need to know what's going on this weekend. If you can give me some picks.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
Hey, what's going on?
How did he know?
What's going on here? Oh,
we've locked
that guy, man.
That dude for like 6 weeks now. He's been on a magical run.
Turns out all he needed was a nap, and then to send in the picks after.
Oh God, that's good.
That's my goodness. Two things I learned this year is trust the cup and trust Timmy Dillon.
The first half of the year, me and you would have never thought that. I don't know what happened, but God is in his favor. Okay, let me shut up. How you doing, man? How's your weekend?
Pretty good. How was your trip?
It was really good. We wanted to eat at a nice restaurant in Duluth afterwards, but we were all three of us, like my buddy who drove me, my buddy who was my assistant, we were all tired, and so we just got Wendy's on the way back.
Yeah, she turns into a long night.
I think Tim Dillon is. I don't know. We'll see how the playoffs go, but I think, good Lord. Now, what's funny about our brackets is I can get no points on it officially. I get no points. The entire bracket.
Yeah.
I think Gamble, he might have lost all 4 of his as well. So you won 2 of them, even though people were wondering why your Twitter was different. I know you explained that on Friday, but people were wondering. And one guy, excuse me. And
no,
then,
I know. That's why I sometimes hate these pick'ems and betting, because you start to do the old, well, if I lose one, maybe I got one, but I always want to win money over winning bracket sort of thing. But
for the record, folks, Captain picked the Birds and the Rock. Now, Rock was a one where I was like, that could have been a win I could have picked up. But man, when the Rush came back, I know they got their what's kicked in, but when they came back, that's all I needed to see. No, they were as bad as we thought. They were done. And they've been done for 7 weeks, but oh my God, here it is. There we go. This has been a great, whatever. This has been a great run the Mimico Trike is on. Goes from fire him to, okay, we'll see what happens. If they win the title with this dude commenting everyone, it's incredible.
That's awesome.
So, and for the record, folks, Tim Dillon has got the Thunderbirds ultimately win it over the Rock. You've got the Rock, so this could be interesting. Well, they can just both lose because that's how things are going. So,
well, let's just keep your negative thoughts to yourself over there, Mr. 0 points.
That's rough. I was also 0 for 5 in betting. I don't want to talk about it though. All right, so Captain, the Georgia Swarm, in front of a very loud 4,134 people. Like you could feel like it was loud. And I told people if the Swarm are not scoring goals, the barn gets a little bit quiet, which probably was all year. But buddy, they were fired up. So I was proud of the people that came. There's also a Hawks game, like they were getting their butts kicked by New York. So the Swarm were doing the Lord's work, but who cares, right? So, also on the other side of the 17 goals, I believe all 17 were allowed by Matt Vince. And there was a moment, like, because this is my first game all year, right? My first time seeing Buffalo in person. I was on the catwalk with my buddy. It's so intimate on the catwalks, by the way. Those photographers have an insane experience. I look down there pregame. I'm like, man, that's Matt freaking Vince. And then during the game, as this thing falls apart, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not how it ends. Like, it can't be. So I was not very happy. So I want to touch on the Bandits dynasty first, because so as lost as my voice was, I wanted a Buffalo win, or at least a Buffalo close game. Because to go out like that, if what we're hearing is true about a lot of the older guys are done, including Matt Vince, it's like, it didn't feel right to me. Jacob Hickey, which I'll get to later, was great against Nate Smith, but seeing that happen was like, man, like I wish I would have seen this guy 5 years ago. You know, it sucked, but what are your thoughts on the Buffalo dynasty?
I'm on both sides of this. Obviously, I've made it loud and clear that, I'm a little excited that it is over. For such a small league, I want to see the torch passed around a little bit more often. But on the same note, like, I won't discredit everything Buffalo has done during this dynasty run. Like, from packed barns to, some good Tillies, appearances on like Pat McAfee and stuff like this. Yeah. So it's not that like during that three-year run that the league as a whole didn't get the spotlight on. Like, the Bandits definitely helped the league as a whole. But I'm on that boat where, hey man, like, let's see a couple other teams win. Let's see that fan base in Buffalo after a couple seasons. If they end up in the bottom 8, which could be expected depending on who they lose, and, not really having goaltending coming up in the system that I'm aware of. So There's a lot of moving parts there, but yeah, I'm kind of on the fence for both sides of it.
I think as a sports fan, most people, like, it's funny because, like, according to like numbers, like, people do like dynasties, but then like but in happiness and positivity, we do want someone else to have a chance, which is why the single game elimination has been so crazy that they always beat that. The last 4 years, it's been a thing. They got through it and made the finals every time. The last 3 they won. So I do think this was a nice, interesting kick in the stomach. I know they have Konstantinopoulos, who had like literally 10 seconds of game time. I don't know if that's their guy. People in the Bandits Mafia chat are talking about this guy. I don't know what his name is off the top, but it has K-I-I-G in it, and they call him Kiggs. He's like some super young box goalie they might want. There's also a chance another guy like Dougie or whoever the crap goes there. But you're right, like, we don't know what the future is. But I think you made a good point. Like, them getting to, like, them growing the game, like you said, Pat McAfee show was a good example. They got eyes on it. And to be fair, Buffalo fans show up to other sports and knowing, like, one of the biggest flexes of I think our league, or the NLL, I say our league, of the NLL, is they packed the barn more than the Sabres did. They were the team to watch in Buffalo when the Bills and much less the Sabres were not doing anything. And I think that has mattered. But like you said, how do they look? We'll see. It's good for fresh faces, but just going out like this pissed me off.
Oh, of course. Nobody, just like me and my ladders, I would have rather finish the season cashing in a big ladder sort of thing. But no, it does suck. And like I say, if I was a Roughnecks fan living in Calgary and we were 3 wins in a row, like, I'd be the same as the Buffalo fans. We'd never want it to end. But there's a lot of positives too, like some good like different media podcasts and stuff kind of came out.
Spittin' Shitlets talked about it like a couple of days ago.
Yeah, and I really meant what I meant when I said that, like, the Bandits kept that city afloat and ready for the Sabres run sort of thing. But yeah, it's good.
Before I show a press conference here, I do want to mention this as well. That Utica Yeti said Priolo, Priollo, but we'll forgive him, was not playing. I noticed that too. Like, from the jump, I was like, because my buddy was asking me what players do I look out for. I was telling about some of the veterans, and when I was looking, I was like, I don't see Priolo. And when we were traveling, I should have been checking, but I didn't really check who was out beforehand. And I was telling Drew Petkoff after the game in the press conference, I was like, what's going on where's Priolo? He was like, yeah, so 3:30. I'm like, wait, 3:30? So, like, no one saw this coming. Do I think it would have mattered? No. I think Georgia had them, like, dead to rights immediately. But I want to show this Ed Cuomo thing first. I'm not going to show the entire 10-minute clip. I do want to get to the part where he talks about the Buffalo Bandits dynasty. He's going to say something that's going to seem obvious, but I think the fact that he says it is kind of cool because he's been around the league forever. So here it is.
That's mine.
Should have cropped it.
Yeah, Nolan, we rely on him to do great things.
Give me a second.
Another question. When I interviewed Brett, he said that he talked to those that were on this 2017 team.
No. Hold on, folks.
Podcasting at its finest.
No, here it is. Here it is. This guy coming up. This guy right here.
I think I said we're happy, but no one's satisfied.
Just kind of big picture, leading an organization that's been really the standards in the last 3 years. What does that kind of mean to you guys? What does that say about this group to get over that?
Yeah, I think the Bandits will go down as the biggest dynasty in the history of our league. They have 6 championship games in a row, won 3 of them, multiple MVPs, goalie of the year. I mean, there's so many accolades, and just a great team. And they battled hard right to the end. There was no quit. We knew that, but I thought we when we got a little bit of a lead, Buffalo's capable of coming back, and thought we did a great job of answering, especially in that third quarter when it was we were kind of one each in the third quarter, and then we kind of went on a run.
So basically, you heard the first part of that. Once I got to it, was like greatest dynasty in the history of our league. Which, yes, like, and I think people are going to get to that point, especially if they're lacrosse people. But, like, even if you're a newer fan, like, when I told people I'd done the show for 4 years, and for the first 3, they won the thing. Like, all I knew was what they had done. And so it's just, I love to see the Ed Cuomo, who's been around the block for a while, like, gave them their flowers. Like, this is the dynasty. Like, we beat them, but, like, they're freaking awesome. So I love that he gave them the flowers. That was cool. I want to get to Richie Connell because we have a buddy named Portman Deli who's always on the social medias. And I believe I'm the first person in this thing that asked him the question about. He had this goal. Well, they had so many statement goals, but I was sitting on the end of the arena with my buddies where I was like, I could see Matt Vince's back, and this play happened when Richie Connell just like end the shot clock, just takes one of those lacrosse 26 video game like fadeaway jump shots. And I asked him about it. It was quick though, but you'll see. Oh, come on.
Honestly, yeah.
There it is.
All right, who wants the first play?
Me. Or was it because you guys were up? What were you seeing that last shot, man?
Honestly, yeah. I just coming up the hash. I don't know who it was, but found me, kind of naked, kind of just shot it. Hope for the best, to be honest.
Felt naked.
But yeah, fired up the winner.
I had to show his perspective. I nothing substantial there. First of all, that's a long dude. That is a very lanky dude.
He's a big cat. Yeah.
The fact that he's a very good player and he's not even their best rookie not even their best young player is incredible because he's awesome. I mean that respectfully. I'm just saying we're respecting Nolan Byrne and Michael Grace. But Captain, I do have to ask you this before we move on to our next question though. Michael Grace goes down, and I saw it in real time happen because it was on our end of the arena almost. I was like, I don't think anyone tripped. Like, so many fans were like, this one guy was F-U in the whole place, and I was like, I don't think he got tripped. It looked like he went down just out of nowhere. I saw the replay on the broadcast, and I hope it's not serious, but you don't just go down by yourself, and you don't miss time from that. So Michael Grace might be close to Defensive Player of the Year. At least we'll be on a lot of top fives. That was brutal. That was the one thing. The game went so well, but that happening was awful. I don't know if you saw the play or not.
No, to be honest, I didn't see it, but any non-contact, I mean, any injury, you never want to see, but non-contact ones just usually seem to be pretty bad.
Very rarely in the NLL do we see people just have to they can't get off on their own power. And this is one of those times they had guys holding him his whatever right ankle or whatever was not putting any weight. I know CLL blames the turf. Now I do wonder, I don't know about that part of the field. It's kind of the middle right. I don't know. I didn't see any folds in it. I can't see any on the replay. Maybe a floor angle like they do in Calgary will help me out there.
We talked just recently, Calgary's turf is real bad, especially around the boards. There's crease marks, everything.
And I wouldn't put it past the Swarm to have a bad I'm just saying respectfully here. We can't even get out of graduation without having an extra home playoff game here. So I'm not going to put it past them. But just looking at it, I saw him cut. And it looked weird from my angle. Okay, let's look ahead though. Because I had my fun on social media. I'm going to talk to Pat about the Thunderbirds Warriors game, but knowing what we know now, who do you trust more, Halifax or Georgia?
Well, the Michael Grace thing changes a lot, especially seeing as I think Patty just put up Cool Bet had. I think Halifax was plus money to win this coming series. So I trust Halifax more.
Plus 158.
Yeah, I trust Halifax more. They've all season long, we've talked about how many 1-goal games they've had. So I think they've learned a lot more lessons and kind of gone through a little bit more adversity all season long. So I put my trust there.
I mean, just from you said, from a betting standpoint, it's not bad. I'm going to say, seeing it in person, I don't know what it did to me, and I'm not just going to try to play the moment because I've had over 36 hours at least to think about this. I watched what Georgia did to a Buffalo team whose offense seemed to have gotten on some kind of a right track, and the way Jacob Hickey, a guy who doesn't even affect the box score yet, I know Pat Gregoire sang his praises, seeing what he did just fundamentally, just everywhere Dane Smith wanted to be, he's there. Dane's a guy you don't stop. And I'm going to check the stat sheet here. I should have done this before, but I don't know how many points Dane actually ended up having here, because it felt like he literally had maybe one. And I don't remember where it was. I'm looking at it real quick. Give me 2 seconds here. Load up thing. But like, I just couldn't believe like a team like that. Like Georgia's defense, what I'm trying to say is, in person is a different animal. I don't know why. Let's see here. Dane had 2 points. It was 2 assists. I don't know where they came from.
That Dobson and Decor is a dangerous combination, man.
And you heard like Cuomo mention a little bit in the first part of that, like where I ended it was like in the third quarter they tried to make a run. I remember because working from my vantage point, it was kind of like they were on the other side at that point. The Georgia defense, every time Buffalo was coming to the net, if they got past the defense, Brett Dawson made a ridiculous save. And so I think like when they say defense wins championships, that's what it looks like. I think I'm going to go with the Swarm. I trust them because of what I saw. But like you said, Halifax, without Michael Grace, plus money cannot be too bad. Or, I know it might be a sweep, but over 2.5 games is minus 115 if you want to throw something on that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty decent.
I wouldn't mind that at all. And knowing what we know about the travel thing now is also interesting. Which again, I'll get to more of that tomorrow because I'm still hearing more and more, but I'll do a full analysis on that tomorrow. Let's do the biggest challenges San Diego gives. Well, let's go to the Seals first. I'm sorry about that. Let's go to the Seals first.
Yeah,
I apologize because I was like, "Where's my betting controversy?" There it is.
It's all right. It's all right. Don't be sorry. Just not
I'm
let
flustered,
that happen.
man.
It's not to let that happen the rest of the episode. All right.
Hey! I go to my first game all year, and I can't do a show anymore. All right, so Seals beat the Mammoth 13-12 in sudden death overtime. But so many people, including head or assistant coach of the Mammoth, Andrew McBride, were so unhappy. Oh, original friend of the show, by the way. One of our first guests we ever had. He was not happy. Neither was 90% of NLL Twitter. And so unhappy that Brett Fruit had to come out and say, hey, by the way, yeah, they got that wrong. And oh, by the way, those guys are not, we're going to treat them like domestic abusers and not give them another game for the rest of the playoffs. Captain, just unfold. First of all, talk about that from a betting standpoint, then we'll get to the question.
Yeah, I had a few people reach out to me, not only just because of the upsets this weekend, but like in that whole situation there. Oh man, like I wouldn't even know how to break it down. If you're in a 2-game, 2 out of 3 series,
it's not as thing as bad.
Well, no, like my question is, okay, this is game 1 out of a 2 out of 3 series. This is what just come out in the aftermath. If we're in the middle of a series, would they play the next game under protest? You know what I mean? Like, would they protest it in the sense that, okay, before game 2, like we got to replay this overtime? I've seen it happen in hockey in different. I think it happened in our local junior C loop like twice in the playoffs this season where they've had to replay games. So that's one thing that like I'm curious about, the 1-game elimination versus 2 out of 3 series. What would have been a difference there?
Interesting.
But at the end of the day, like, I remember saying it to somebody, like the league doesn't have the funds, the money, or the will or way to like replay this game with those 2 teams before the playoffs start. Anyways, we're already complaining about the upcoming schedule and everything else, and
that's true. That's a good point.
So like we're gonna fit any sort of justice defining game in here, sort of thing. So I don't know, man.
First of all, I'm gonna need what bugs me, and like what bugs me about this entire thing is people know I am one of the first ones. I will never say the refs cost, like, which I'll get to in a minute, the refs cost the team a game. I also been one of the first ones like help, like, create a conversation about what the refs do. And like the long reviews has been my thing. But what I don't like is when, and I keep telling folks that like, no one seems to acknowledge what I'm saying. But Captain, you watch hockey a bit, right? How many times after a team loses, you hop in the comments section, what's the first thing they're doing? Are they saying, we'll come next year? Who are they blaming? Their team sucking, or who are they blaming?
It's usually a little bit of everything going on, but yeah, there's a lot of
a lot of ref, right? Okay. You ever watch American like football or
Yeah.
CF? Who do they blame when they lose?
Look at the Kansas City Chiefs thing with the refs for.
So the refs. Okay, now how about basketball? Thunder are really good, but whenever on a Thunder beat a team, who do they blame, Captain?
I don't watch enough basketball, but I'm going to assume it's the refs.
Oh, well, NASCAR, why did Joey Logano win 2 or 3 championships? Not that stupid format, like basically officiating. Oh, You know what? It'd be one thing if no one ever did it. It'd be one thing if Kurt Malosky, in his little presser was like, oh, I don't really, they had 7 power plays. Pat Coyle also got to talk after his game after Colorado lost the way they did. Pat Coyle didn't even acknowledge that thing. Basically brushed away immediately, saying, we let them back in. Our defense was tired because we were not playing well. Oh, okay. Now, granted, sudden death, overtime, single game elimination, sure. But I find it very peculiar that certain people can accept, hey, you know what? Maybe a San Diego offense, which we know sucked all year, maybe stop them, and you never get to that point. I know the ultimate sudden death overtime, and that's the end of it. I get that. But I told people Buffalo got through this round 4 years in a row. Yeah. Won their own overtime game against the Swarm, ironically. I want to know why we cannot let a loss happen. And yes, it was a missed call. Absolutely. But I'm not going to allow fans in sports to continuously do this. We're treating them like domestic abusers by punishing them. Now, do I think they should be trained up? Sure. Should that never happen again? Absolutely. But we're not going to pretend that was okay, that's okay to do that. MJD, they reviewed this thing for like what Graham Perro said, timed at 3.5 minutes. And again, bad miss by them. But and Captain, I want to touch on. I know you're not saying this. I'm gonna finish talking here, but you mentioned, because other people were asking, what about the replaying the game? Hey, has the NFL ever done that? No. So, they've got all the money in the world. You think by now, if we had our emotional way, that they would have done? It doesn't make sense. Nothing happened. Oh my God, everything happened. I don't believe that. I do think Alt Sports Data probably looks at that and says, interesting. And you sit on Twitter, Captain. Maybe that's why we don't have a lot of sports books on this thing heavily. But I also think this is one of those things where it's like, come on, man. Get out of here.
Yeah, and it's an automatic review in those situations. Yes. So I don't believe the team has an opportunity to challenge regardless of the outcome.
Well, they did their thing anyways. It was.
But the only thing I can think in my mind is mentally when they're doing the review, they haven't taken that part into consideration.
Right.
It's easy to miss something when you're looking at a bigger picture. In the intense moment, obviously it shouldn't. And in other leagues, they seem to have different tiers of reviews. It's not just relying on a couple of guys in the box getting, screamed at by fans and the glass smashed at them. In the NHL, they have essentially a war room or whatever, where these people are also looking at different angles and whatnot. So yeah, there could be many improvements made to the whole thing, but and then maybe allowing the team to challenge regardless of what the automatic review has. So at the end of the day, I hope they do learn some lessons from this and improve on everything. But
I think it's kind of almost like in a weird way, it's almost like the Rowland Hartley thing. Okay, yeah, that was awful, but let's not exile it. Let's not go too far with our conversation here.
Yeah.
Acknowledge how terrible this was. Oh, we're gonna replay the game of the integrity. Get out of here.
No, and then I did recall, I remember we had controversy near the beginning of the season, and I remember saying at that point, it does suck that we're in this situation.
Oh,
but
with
on
the
the other,
Rochester-Toronto game, yeah.
well, but on the other point, like the fact that the game's getting that much faster and more intense and closer
coverage.
battles, it's you can kind of look at the slight positive that, okay, like this is how good the sport is. It just sucks that the officiating side didn't keep up to
And I wonder, like, because you'll have the fans that will claim it was bad all game, but I bet you if it wasn't controversy, they would have found something else. Oh, they were favoring one side. Now this does sound like a sore thumb, obviously.
Well, and I'm telling you right now, if that was my Roughnecks losing out like that, like I'd be crying like a baby back, all week long, like, so I don't blame people for their reactions and whatnot, but yeah, I hope the league kind of takes some lessons from it and grows from it essentially.
Brandon Hesson, Brett Colombe, and Ryan Fowler. I guess they don't include the shot clock guy in that because there was 4 refs, but Adam Levy said those were the guys working it like that. I know that's who was working. Adam had their first names, and sometimes I'll have their first names. That's who it is. I also want to mention that, Captain, I'm not even a fan of making a statement. I'm gonna tell you why. I don't think it matters. Like, it seems like the point of it was to say, hey, because they missed the call, our standard process is to just say you're done for the playoffs. I get that, but it seems like this was a way to almost do some PR. Hey, we understand you guys are pissed off, but I don't think Mammoth fans feel any better or worse with or without a statement. And I think it's kind of like when not to go down this rabbit hole, it's kind of like when a political horrible thing happens in politics or morally or whatever. It's like, have you made a statement? It's like, will you care if I do? Or when they beg somebody to make an apology, it's like, none of you are going to accept the apology. So what is this actually doing for people? It's doing nothing. So I don't know. Now some people appreciate it, but I don't think they were Mammoth fans. So I don't think Mammoth fans feel any better or worse. Let's go to now San Diego because they did beat the Mammoth and they're moving on. They'll play the Rock, who beat the Rush, which we're going to talk to Pat about. Well, what is the biggest challenge that you think San Diego gives Toronto in a 3-game series? And by the way, according to Pat Gregoire and Coolbet, the Seals are plus 150 and Toronto's minus 204. So it looks like Seals are a slightly closer matchup, but they're both very similar in terms of like the Thunderbird series.
Yeah, so for San Diego, I think the fact that like Berg has come alive in the last little bit.
Yeah.
A couple of their big top guys that were pretty sleepy suddenly have come awake at the right time. The other part too is the last 10 games the Seals have played, they've either won or lost by 1 or 2 goals. Crazy. So they're a team that just hangs around, just like Colorado let them hang around. Like, okay, Colorado can blame what happened in overtime, but when you're up by 4 in your own barn, you should be able to close that game
with
out.
a healthy Andrew Q scoring 4 goals, by the way.
And Ward and net. But regardless, San Diego for the last half of their season has had a tough schedule, and every game, regardless of who their opponent is, regardless of who they have healthy, not healthy, performing, not performing, that whole group seems to kind of pick up the slack when somebody can't. They seem to have bought into whatever's going on. They haven't taken their, terrible home record to heart because that was, forever their dominant zone. But yeah, this year I think they just like the Roughnecks, they're in every game, they hang around, and if you go to sleep for a little bit, somebody that you're not expecting is going to come in. Dylan Watson come in and pop one or something. They also have Baptiste at the dot.
Oh man.
And again, I've switched it from face-offs matter to face-offs count. Like when it counts, you're winning those draws and you're getting that extra chance. You're getting that extra opportunity. So
that too. Pat Coyle said that because I know Pilata was out. He had a good year, and like 26-3 at the dot helps.
Yeah, like Baptiste went 75% against Roulette, I think it was, from the Rock last time they played each other. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positives here, regardless of the fact that like I'm a heavy leaner on Toronto right now and Rosie. So
right.
But yeah, that'd be what I would say.
Look at you looking at playoff Rosie, feeling good about him. You know what I'm saying? Now 13 to the Rush, whatever. I mean, okay. So you're going. You'll see go on the Rock still. How about this way? Have you grown more weary, or do you still feel very confident about the Rock, knowing what we know now after the first game?
No, dude, I was a pretty firm believer that if the Rock got by Saskatchewan,
they're feeling good.
I think they have. Like they played both San Diego and Colorado kind of similarly in some ways. So regardless of that matchup, I think the Rock has the advantage with a healthy Matthews, with the rookies, doing what they're doing. And more importantly, Rosie, hopefully and finally locked in and bought into the system. Yeah, you're right. Like the amount of goals they let up against Saskatchewan isn't really sufficient to make a long run, but they took down a juggernaut. So not to, say San Diego's a lighter opponent, but if they can get by San Diego and they don't have to play the Bandits, like my goodness, man, like this could be
the Warriors for crying out loud.
Yeah, like a lot of it. I think this is their year, bud.
Love you. You might have to find another free ticket to Hamilton pretty soon here. Georgia Halifax. Those pesky birds, man. I think Ed Cuomo had said they've been playing playoff games for 2 months. I'm sure a lot of people have said that.
Yeah.
Warren Hill, man. I mean, I know we're going to get to it with Pat, but like when the other guy's making 61 saves and they do have a superstar offense, Warren Hill, man, every game that they've been down like dead to the entire season, Warren Hill's been awesome.
Oh, 100%.
I think both teams, I think both offenses, one of them is going to have to click, and Georgia's has been, but Halifax's offense seems like they're getting more comfortable with each other too. So who do you give the edge to, and who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, I feel like Halifax and San Diego are in similar spots. Like,
yeah,
the final stretch has felt like playoffs all season long.
Correct.
So. But I'm going to give the edge to Halifax. I feel like if, the wily vets on that team, if this is going to 3 games, they're going to have a few little tricks up their sleeve to kind of get under the skin of Dobson. And provided Halifax can stay out of penalty trouble, I give them the edge here.
They've been doing great, for the last 2 months, but since the trade deadline, they've not been in penalty trouble, which is good.
Yeah, and I'll even put a comparison like this. Like look at Timmy Dillon. It don't matter what you did all season long. You made it to the finals, and it matters what goes on right now. That Timmy Dillon's 4-0.
Tell me, Big Dillon.
You get hot at the right time, like Halifax has, and I would even say San Diego, despite the fact that I think Toronto will stomp them. But I think Halifax is they're in the right mentality. As long as Hill doesn't falter, I think they've got a great opportunity here to take it 3, regardless of the schedule too, because people will be like, "Oh, Halifax gets more games." Listen, Georgia does better on the road, so
they don't. Yeah, when you don't live down here, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, like their schedule are their numbers all season long have been better on the road. So we'll see, but that's where I'll leave that.
I trust Georgia more because of Dobson. That's pretty much where I land. And I think the biggest challenge San Diego gives Toronto is they've got legs too. I feel like the Rock love to play the defense and transition game. I think Seals are one of 4 teams match up so well with that. I feel like if you want to do the running game, we can do it. If you want to make it a defensive war, let's do that too. But I do think the Rock's offense is going to do numbers. That's the edge. Maybe Rose over Origlieri, I don't know. but the edge to me is right there at the offense for Toronto.
Okay.
I'll get to who I think might win it in the next block with Pat. But appreciate you, Captain, for sticking through that. And we'll see you next time.
Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. That was old Capitan from the Picks part of town. Good for him. Listen, man, the betting thing is crazy. Like just with that San Diego, Colorado game. And Captain, like I said, made a great point on Twitter when he was saying, like, maybe that's why some of the league, like some of the big books, they see that and maybe they're not too happy. But I don't know. I told you guys, I've been on the stance for a long time. Refs don't determine the outcome of games. And I think if that was the one call, then, like, come on. Pat Coyle shot to him for being awesome in that. But I'm coming up next. We're going to talk to Pat Gregoire about the Thunderbirds pulling off an upset and a comeback for the ages. Also, whether or not this season was a failure for Vancouver. We'll also break down the Rock Rush game because he was on call for that one. We'll also touch on Buffalo Bandits a little bit more and a little bit of look ahead for the next series. That's up next. You're watching Dilly Dive. Don't go anywhere. I know you won't.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to Dilly Dive. It is Monday, April 27th, 2026. 1:45 here on the East Coast, live if you're watching it live. And of course, we always appreciate the replay viewers as well. Recently on the Natter, that's North American Talk Radio's YouTube channel, I've uploaded the Silas Richmond interview in its entirety. 19 minutes that guy gave me. Good stuff. We also talked to Mike Straw. He had mentioned that he thought the bad Matt Vince would come out, and he was right. Also love the comments here as well. MJG, the other Michael Grace, says 95% of Thunderbirds players travel from Ontario. It's not really a home game, home barn, but both teams. Yeah, of course. And Captain says all players travel. Yeah, and that's why I think the Swarm won the home game. Like, because it's not 19,000 people saying, screw you, or like stuff like that. 4,100 was loud, but it wasn't that loud. All right. We're now going to talk to a man who is not only on the call in good old Saskatchewan with Matt Cullen and the crew, but this man also, after that game, found a way to be on OTCB for a little bit of a recap with Teddy. I don't know if you guys have seen the thumbnail from that OTCB thing. Pat looks tired. I'm like, what? YouTube did him dirty. But let's bring in Pat Gregoire, TSN, Cool Bet, all the good people, all the good places. How are you, sir?
Doing good, Mike. Yeah, it was a long day out in Toontown. So I'll have to change that thumbnail. It wasn't Teddy's fault. It was YouTube. I want to quickly mention just one thing about the talking about travel and home floor advantage and everything. Captain is absolutely right. A lot of the time it is the home floor advantage, like the atmosphere and everything like that. Georgia does have like a good chunk of guys, though, that are living in market. Let's not forget.
True.
Like, I do know a
Correct.
good chunk of guys are coming from Ontario, but, you know, guys like Shane Jackson, Brian Cole, I believe Richie Connell, Michael Grace, Brett Dobson. Like, there's a good chunk of guys that are living in market. So that was obviously an advantage for them to play at home.
I guess it is. I forgot Dobson's thing. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But like, it's more. Hey, some guys. By the way, the Michael Grace thing. I know we probably haven't heard anything about that, but that looks so brutal for them.
Yeah, that's awful. It's going to hurt them going forward. It sucks for him as his development as a pro. Like, I mean, I think in any other year besides this year, he's probably a clear-cut rookie of the year, no doubt about it. So hoping for a speedy recovery for him. Hopefully we see him at full strength next year. Haven't really heard much, but that's a gigantic loss. And El Capitan again, spot on. But despite all that being said, 7-2 on the road this year is Georgia. If you want to add in their home game in Edmonton,
he's already winning with the.
So, there you go. So there you go. So
good.
So this is a team that plays really well on the road, but obviously, I think at the end of the day, you're never giving up home floor advantage, purposely, and you're always pleased to play on your home floor. But if there is a group that is well equipped to win on the road, it's obviously these guys.
Equipped and quipped, by the way. I like them both. Equipped needs to be a word. All right, we'll do the Rock Rush game first because a little bit less talking points, but still, I mean, the Rock offense, I mean, it's crazy like every team in the league can be awesome, and then like their offense cannot be great all year long, but like they have those games where it's like, oh my God, but then who's beating these guys? Is that what you felt with the Rock in that game?
You know, for stretches of times, yeah, absolutely. I felt like you could argue in, you know, the two games that we saw, geez, the Toronto Rock probably controlled for about like 6 quarters of action. There was a time and a place that it felt like Saskatchewan was in control, started climbing back, took the lead, but you know, it really didn't feel all that much ever in doubt that Toronto wasn't going to win that game. Defensively, they were great, did a really good job silencing Saskatchewan, dictating where all those shots were coming from, pushing in transition. And then you mentioned the offense. Just you don't know where it's coming from. When Mark Matthews is in that line, I'm sure he is the quarterback and the threat is there. But look what happened. The righties were the ones who were most dominant. It wasn't Challen Rogers. It was Chris Boucher and Josh Dowick. That's
8 combined goals.
The floor balance that they have is ridiculous. You got CJ Kirst in his first playoff game scoring a hat trick. And I don't know if it was on here or if it was on OTZB that I mentioned it. Like, yes, first playoff game for 8 players in that lineup, no doubt is huge. But they've all played in big moments. They've all played in big games before. And I think it proved with Sam English being a big contributor that night, with CJ Kirst being fantastic out there. These guys have been in those big moments and they've stepped up huge. And this team right now, especially with the way that the path has kind of worked, and you know, talking to them earlier last week, they said we don't obviously want to get ahead of ourselves, but we're really pleased that Buffalo is on the other side of the bracket. We feel like, you know, whatever is in front of us, we're confident in it. They said, you know, we've played really well against Saskatchewan. They proved that. They talked about the other series. San Diego's a team that they've had some great games, but historically they're 6-1 against them. Colorado, obviously they get smoked the one game, but beat them at home as well. They felt like that was a good matchup for them. They really believed that their path to the final was strong. And I think it's kind of showing this now that they play a San Diego team, which we got to give credit for what they've been able to do down the stretch. But I think that this is right for the taking for Toronto to at least punch their ticket to the final.
I want to get to a certain odds on that before I get to my thoughts on it. If you think the Rock are going to sweep, which possible, plus 165. The problem is that road San Diego game, just those are so weird. But plus 165 is right there.
Yeah,
the polar bears are begging me, Pat.
They are. They're begging you. But you're right. Pechanga Arena is tough to play in. The travel is going to obviously be tough. Both teams will be traveling, though. So I don't really necessarily think there's an edge there. And just the way that the San Diego team has been playing as of late, I thought El Capitan really laid it out perfectly. Like they're a group that plays well defensively when O'Reilly is making the saves. And then their big players are just coming up in big moments. So I wouldn't.
Zach Curry's on a heater.
Oh, is he ever? Westberg's come to life. I feel like I do feel like though Toronto right now is still the better team, but San Diego can put up that fight for sure.
Joe Tsai gave us an LFG first time in a million years. Love that. Like when they're making it, buddy, he is on it. Like, let's go.
Absolutely, yes.
So I'm just gonna remember a couple of weeks ago when Halifax had Withers and Hossack and Tarafinka all score a goal.
Yeah.
Brad Cree, Elijah Gash, Latrell Harris. I think when you're doing that, like you're not losing a game. I don't care what your offense does. And it did its part too. When that happens, you're not beating Toronto at all.
Yep.
So
yep.
That's crazy. So what went wrong for the Rush?
Are we talking this game or down the stretch?
Oh, hey, this is why it's not an overreaction segment, but I love all these open-ended questions. Kind of, how do you want to take it? Go ahead.
Listen, I think I kind of want to take it down the stretch because I think a lot of the same problems happened.
Right.
At the start of the year, we were seeing games where they were blowing teams out, putting up 12 plus goals a game. We saw them put up 21 one game, 15 one game, 14, 12, 14, 13, you name it. So like, they put up some big time numbers. Ryan Keenan was on pace, talking about being an MVP candidate. Zach Mans was on pace for 100 points. Robert Church was, I think, on pace for like 40 something goals. Austin Shanks was on pace for a career year. And then the offense kind of started to sputter. And I don't want to say completely sputter because some games you'd have Keenan go off and Mans go off. Then other games it would be just Church. I think Shanks slowing down absolutely, completely really hurt this group. He just went so cold. Didn't have a multi-goal game until February. Or he hadn't had one since February. And then he gets 2 goals in this game.
3.
They were so dynamic. So, 3 actually. So
that's the last one. Right.
Yeah, so dynamic, so electric, but I just don't know. I'm not necessarily ready to say other teams figured them out, but I just feel like the sticks got cold at the same time and they weren't able to figure things out. Other guys weren't able to step up, and defensively, I still think this is a group that's one of the most feared in the game. I feel like Frank Chiliano, although his numbers were pretty solid, there were times where he couldn't make that big stop or kind of things faltered down the stretch. So it's just a few things that I think kind of accumulated at the same time and they just couldn't figure things out. Like, I don't know. Teddy suggested making some major changes. I don't know if that's quite the case. But they do have a lot of the same type of players. They do have a lot of smaller, athletic outside shooters who, don't get me wrong, they can muck and grind with the best of them. But like talking to Derek Keenan this week, he mentioned something that was very interesting. Was our 2 leaders are our guys that play the best without the ball on offense, and Ryan Keenan and Robert Church. Those guys should be the ones who are scoring your goals and setting up your goals. They shouldn't be the ones that are crashing and banging. And sure, when you do crash and bang, everyone always talks about getting other players open. You're also creating space to get yourself open as well. So I'm very well aware of that. Maybe they need more guys that don't need the ball in their stick. Guys that are happy with just setting hard picks, creating space, being loose ball guys. Because when you look at the depth of it, then Levi Anderson, and Josh Zawada, two great players, don't get me wrong.
But they need the ball.
But they need the ball, exactly. And Zawada had 22 points in 18 games. That's not very good. I know he's a young up-and-coming player, but that's not going to get it done. Levi Anderson, 25 and 13. You had Clark Walter, who for whatever reason could not get into the lineup to save his life. And I think he's the perfect missing ingredient on that left side.
Mr. Healthy Scratch. I mean, it's not just the mustache I like.
But how do you keep a guy as skilled as Levi Anderson out of the lineup is also interesting as well. So I don't know.
Easy. He works better with the offense, Clark. Every game I watch with Clark Walter, he's doing something.
Trust me.
It's momentum building.
Trust me, I'm on the same page as you. Clark Walter played 5 games, 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points, while being their best pick setter, while being their spark plug. So
Sparky, yep.
I don't know. I think Levi Anderson could like as a number 2. I don't know if his ceiling is number 1, but like as a number 2 on a different team.
That's what I'm saying.
I think you can trade him somewhere. I think, I don't know, like does Calgary, would he not look good in a 2-man game with Tanner Cook and on that left side? I think that would look pretty solid to me. He's from Calgary. We have Braden Maillet on that side there. I think he would work perfectly. But again, this is a little early on what we're doing when it comes to the offseason and the post-mortem of this season. But the more I talk about it, and the more I kind of agree with Teddy, maybe some bigger changes need to happen with this group. And they burst onto the scene, Mike, this year or last year, and then they go cold this year. Kind of similar to what happened with Albany / Oshawa a couple of years ago. Now, mind you, more hot commodity, more known commodity names, but I just mean like the system, the way they play. Teams started to figure them out. Maybe teams this year started to figure them out down the stretch. Maybe they've got to do something different, change up, whether it's philosophies, which I don't think they will, but maybe it is getting different depth pieces in there to help their star players be more successful down the stretch.
Another guy I like is Nathan Grennan, who just floats around the league. I mean, but then again, like it's kind of like a Clark Walter deal where it's like you're doing everything right. You're killing momentum with the other team. You're building momentum for your own team. They're like, oh, we don't need you. Okay, that's cool. Just don't need me then. Like I'll just sit here and watch you guys fold again. Like that's what it is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like the social media guys been noticing. Oh, you don't have to be big or small or anything to be great at lacrosse. Just know your role. Like
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. I want to focus on the positive side of this game first.
Sure.
It was great for the record, the Halifax Vancouver game. Going to there's always people that like tell me that my Twitter is funny when I see them in person. And I once again was getting people telling me, yeah, I saw you had some fun last night. I'm like, okay, whatever, man. I don't even know you had a Twitter. You're still telling me this crap. Anyways, Halifax did. When this game was 7-1, I even told one of the fans, I was like around the entire game. I was like, I don't want to get complacent in this game. I was like, this probably is how Vancouver fans felt like when they were up early. And 7-1 felt good, man. I was on Twitter saying things like, told y'all Vancouver was the better team. Halifax just not enough. Warren Hill had a great season. It looks like it'll mean nothing. Man, that lasted somewhere in the middle of the third quarter. And I know why it happened, but I want to ask you, how do you think Halifax pulled this off?
Listen, I think it's a ton of reasons why they were able to pull this off. I think first and foremost, you have to give them a ton of credit for being resilient, for having that belief that they could come back, not panicking. I think in years past, a Halifax team in the playoffs down 7-1 probably would have unraveled. It probably would have turned ugly.
Yeah.
Look at the 9-3 loss against Albany back in 2024. I mean, this is it. There's a lot of chatter about, the collapses of the Toronto Rock to the Buffalo Bandits, this Halifax team has their own scar tissue when it comes in the postseason. Like, we're talking about, Graham Parrow puts out the tweets about like biggest playoff comebacks ever. One of the biggest ones was this Toronto against Halifax. Let's go back a year ago, almost a full calendar. The Saskatchewan game. Halifax had game 2 in the books, and out of nowhere, the unthinkable happens.
Even the camera guy didn't realize what was happening.
Mike Messenger with the strip, Barnable with the loose ball. Like, you go through all of it. The Albany, although it wasn't like a crushing loss, it's an ugly, ugly loss. Mm-hmm. The scar tissue is there for this Halifax team. So for them to forget about that, not be like, well, same old T-Birds, I can't believe this is happening to us again. They put their nose down. It sounds like a very spirited, motivational speech from Andrew Suter and Cody Jamieson. Mike Kersey was honest in postgame, said, I didn't even really have to say anything. Those guys went in there and got the troops going. So, one, it's character. It's staying the past, the resiliency. 2, it's the fact of the matter that they. I'm probably going to catch some heat for this, but I think they outcoached Vancouver. I think, Miloski's staff got outcoached in that second half to Vancouver. Andrew Suter, the defensive coordinator, made some adjustments. The offense made some adjustments. They started playing a lot faster. They were pushing in transition. It felt like in that first half, they were scared to run and gun. They wanted to slow things down. So for them to recognize, hey, listen, our pregame game plan isn't working.
Yes.
No, trust the process. This isn't trust the process. The process ain't processing right now.
Yeah,
let's empty the tank. Let's empty the chamber. And one of those things too was recognizing that, Warren Hill wasn't seeing the ball all that great from the outside to start the game. So they said, listen, let's trust Warren. He's going to be fine. He's going to make those outside saves. He's going to lock in. He's going to be dialed in. We saw, we saw that happen in the second half. So they could start playing like we saw them, and they were able to do that. So I think the two major things is the resiliency and just the second half adjustments, mostly on defense, but in transition and in offense as well.
So I love that you said that part, because I thought that was a great point. But it takes humility as a coaching staff to understand where you can get better. And now I'm gonna say something that I've been tweeting. You might have seen me tweet about this. So in this game, the shots on goal, I'll try to pull the correct number quickly. It was like about 30 plus advantage in favor of Halifax. And it's one of those things where, like, I think the biggest argument for it was 71-43 in favor of Vancouver. Del Bianco made 61 saves and had a great game, and it didn't mean anything. Why did that number happen? It's not even an offensive loose balls would have helped this stat. He made saves, and they would go elsewhere. And for a majority of the third quarter, I'm watching this game, and I'm like, this is even Teddy and Brad were saying, how is this happening? Every save he made. And so it's not even like they have a chance to, the defense had to have been exhausted. The offense loses all momentum, which is when it happened. And I'm like, the biggest argument people have if they watch that game for a single game elimination being a 3-game series is you play that game 2 more times, the Warriors might win both games. Mm-hmm. It's also why I said during the game, like, man, they made Buffalo look awesome in the last 4 years. And again, like, could it have been the offense, going stagnant once again? Sure. But that was I couldn't believe it was just a vibe kill. Like, you're doing everything perfectly, and the ball's going, like, what? I think that's an underrated part of that game, man.
100% it is. 100% is. And I don't know how you game plan for that. I don't know how Del Bianco can have better rebound control possibly, but that's asking for a lot. He's getting peppered, right? He's getting absolutely peppered. And even when the ball did stay within the yard, Mike, like, Halifax was beating them to loose balls on
Correct.
offense and on defense. And I think a lot of it was fatigue.
Yes.
Like I talked about it on OTCB after dark. Like Vancouver was making like just mistakes that I haven't seen them make all season long. Reed Bowering with a terrible pass on that game, go-ahead goal by Withers. Like Keegan Ball and Jesse King just flat out dropping passes. Like it's just I don't want to say like the moment got too big.
No.
Because those guys aren't afraid of the moment, but like I think they got tired, and I think like the game just came fast to them, and they got punched in the mouth and they didn't know what to do. And we've seen that a few times, especially offensively. Go back to that Buffalo game. They looked awesome in that first quarter against Buffalo. And then Buffalo made some adjustments and they couldn't react. I think Vancouver's offense is so reliant on their structure and what they are told to do in the way that they play. It's like, here's option A, here's option B. Sometimes you just got to free ball. Sometimes you just got to lean on your skills. Sometimes we didn't see Curtis Dixon go hero mode. We didn't see Keegan Ball go hero mode. And I don't know if that's them like trusting that we got to play within our system, or they're afraid to step on toes because everyone's got to get their touches. I don't know what it was, but at one point there, you got to think like someone saying, we're not losing this game. Give me the ball. I'm scoring. We just didn't see that. The other thing, and again, the out coaching thing, is why was there no timeout from Kurt Malosky? Why was there no goalie change just to get him? There was nothing to try to kill that momentum at any point. That to me, I'm shocked. I know Malosky likes to say like we play where our feet are, we don't show we're rattled, but at some point you got to get some sort of change. I don't know what it is. I was shocked that we didn't see that as well. I really was.
I want to mention another thing. Like it's kind of weird. I don't play, obviously, never have played, obviously, so I don't know how these flows work from an athlete standpoint. When you're watching on TV, you are recognizing the media breaks. You are recognizing the moment. When you're in the barn, even from a fan perspective, I'm trying to appreciate Bandits are down a bunch and they got to lock in now. And the game goes by so quickly. I'm not saying because these guys have done this before. Does that play a small part of when you're an athlete, the game's going by so quickly? You're we had a 7-1 lead. Is that why you get tired or complacent? You're it's almost like you can't wake up and happen so fast.
Yeah, certainly not complacent, but yeah, I think you can be shell shocked and
kind of like Georgia Halifax. Remember?
Yeah,
it's whoa.
Yeah, what's happening here? Yeah, I think that can play a part, but again, I just shell shocked just to me with that group doesn't. It's hard to say, but I think at points it was like whoa, like what's happening here? And
even when it was when the Halifax tied, it's man, Vancouver doesn't look good. They look like whoa. And my shell shock, I don't mean moments too big. I just mean whoa, we got to lock back in. They couldn't lock back in.
I agree. I totally agree. And I know there's obviously discussion out there of the penalty discrepancy and whatever. God. It's a conversation for another day. Even if you want to play that angle, Mike, that's fine and dandy. But in the fourth quarter, game's tied, penalties are all done. So if you want to argue the officials let them get back into the game, sure, whatever. I disagree. But what happened in the fourth then? What happened after that? Because after that, if there was a penalty, I'm pretty sure most of them were both teams went, or it was very, very close to being even after that point, after the 5-on-3 where Halifax, took advantage. So that's where I'm not buying it.
In the fourth quarter, the only penalties that happened were after a minute left in the game happened. So
there you go. See, so it's at that point, Mike, it's then if you want to argue reffing played a factor, whatever. What happened then in the fourth quarter?
In that fourth quarter?
What happened in the fourth quarter?
It was tied, and there was no penalties. Yeah. I do want to mention about I do it out of just pure morals for myself, and I don't blame refs. I just felt every penalty in that game, I never felt no, that was horrible. They did not have a Trey LeClaire moment in that game at all. And I think I think Halifax, just like I said, just they caught him. They caught him sleeping. And I think when you go up 7-1, you feel like this team actually came back and whooped us. I don't think you appreciate until the end where you're looking back. Like I told my buddy, what's going to happen? The first Bants player that comes in here is going to yell the F word. Sure enough. Now I don't know who it was. It was fun how like up clockwork. Oh well. Was this is an interesting question. You can do this from a million angles too. Was this season a failure for Vancouver?
Of course. Absolutely,
Okay.
It was.
Wow.
100% it was. This is a team that was, I don't want to say championship or bust, but
I mean,
it was pretty damn close to championship or bust. They took a step backwards. They made it to the Final Four last year. They get knocked out in one game. I understand all the great things that they accomplished in the regular season, but this is a failure. This isn't subjective. This isn't opinion based. This is a fact. This is a team that should have been at minimum in that final, or taking a team to 3 games in the semifinal, and then we can have a conversation. Well, with that being said, is this team going to be back next year? Is this team going to be a championship contender?
If Delby Milosky, yeah.
Absolutely. 1,000%. Like 1,000%. I'll go further than that. But Curtis Dixon isn't getting any younger. Ryan Dilks isn't getting any younger. Matt Beers isn't getting any younger. Brett Mitski isn't getting any younger. Like the clock is ticking, and I understand there's a 5-year plan, and I think this was year 3 for Milosky, or year 4, whatever it may be. I think this was, at this point, they might have been ahead of schedule where they were, but with that being said, because they're ahead of schedule, I think their timeline has to also move as well. This is a team that
I can throw it up. Goalies that move to
this is Dallas Elliott. He's mentioning Del Bianco, obviously a goalie that is
usually
more reactionary.
Usually he does a good job with that, for the record, like Del Bianco does.
I thought Del Bianco was phenomenal in that game.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Del Bianco, this could have been a way different game. So,
Yeah.
I mean, certainly not putting this on Del Bianco at all. And as long as you have him in between the pipes, I think your team has a chance to win every single night and to be a championship contending team. So, good point there by Dallas. No, it's good. But what I was saying is that this team has a window. It obviously has a window to win. And you get one loss, one strike against it. They'll be back next year. I'm curious though, do they decide to make any moves? Do they feel like they might need something a little bit different on offense? Because sure, Ball was great, King was great, Dixon, phenomenal season once again. Clarich, I think, started taking the steps in the right direction. Charlon Beatty's pretty solid season, but like
really good year for Beatty's.
Ryan Sheridan.
Oh,
and again,
man.
I know he's a crasher and banger, but like you need more than 14 points in 18 games. I'm sorry, man. Like I'm just sorry. So I think we see some sort of change up front offensively. But as you said, Mike, like this team shouldn't really need much more help. Like on paper, this is a team that should win championships. So I think if I'm Milosky, I run it back. I maybe make a couple of depth pieces and just say, use this as a learning opportunity. You can't take a half off in a game. Your execution has to be on point, and you can't take things for granted because in the one and done format, anything can happen.
Which I'll get to later on this week as well. I still love that thing. I think it's easy to say now in every like favorites in people's minds. I think Georgia, I think Colbert had Buffalo as a favorite, so I'll say every favorite loss. But it's like I'll get to that later in the week. 5-year plan is sure thrown around a lot in the NLL. I'm finding out with these coaches.
It's true. But I do know for a fact Milosky had mentioned that. If you listen to his 12-minute rant post-game presser after the game, he did mention that, but I've heard him talk about that as well. So
he also is not one to mince words. So like I get mad at him.
God, no.
for the way he blames certain things, I didn't like it, but that's who he is. Like he always like will tell you in that moment he feels this, and this. Like, okay, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah,
you'll know he lost.
Yeah, he wears his heart on his sleeve. You can't.
I do too.
Doubt, you can't fault him for his passion, his commitment, and yeah, I mean,
I'd be a bad head coach, especially in post game after a while. I'd be bad.
He just got his heart ripped out of his chest, and of course, obviously, he's thinking like they weren't expecting to lose that game. So,
I don't think deep down he actually believes the refs. I think because he is emotional in that moment, but I do think they know other things happen besides
for sure.
I also want to mention I had fun with is this a season of failure for the Warriors, because I value when we're at a time like this in the league so much. I'm talking about off the field, by the way they're growing things and how that barn's going to get even more packed. It is tough seeing the comments afterwards, like people a little bit upset. But again, that's in the moment, emotional, because apparently I didn't know Vancouver sports always choked. Apparently that's a thing. I did not know that.
Yes.
Sorry for not being a hockey fan. But speaking of hockey, like the Canucks making their own post about the Warriors, I thought was amazing. Like the ownership is like, this is one of their teams.
Yeah.
And they're letting it go.
Yeah.
But
honestly, sorry, Mike, before on that, and I'm upset. The playoff run was so short. I really wasn't even able to give people their kudos, but Tyson Geik, obviously he's the, head of content for Canucks sports and entertainment. And so obviously when the Canucks season was done, he started to, really heavily focus on a lot of things that were going on with the Warriors. And I want to give him and his team a shout out, because every time I opened up my Instagram or my Twitter, something was there with the Warriors out in the community. They had a great video of them just in one of the parks in Vancouver and teaching kids lacrosse and just getting out there. You mentioned the Vancouver Canucks post. They were with the Vancouver Whitecaps, one of their star players passing and shooting the ball and everything. Like there was such a push, and they had their campaign, Be the Brave, and all this stuff. Like, so I'm crushed for Tyson and his team, but I'll give them their flowers, because I thought they did an awesome job hyping things up. Unfortunately for them, their playoff run lasted one game, but like it felt like they were making some really good momentum in that city. And unfortunately for them, it's one and done. That's the nature of the beast of the NLL. And at least we know, Mike, that there's that synergy with the city for next year. And hopefully this disappointment can maybe motivate the group going forward for a deep championship run.
I'll touch on a couple things here. Number one is I have got to be consistent. I will say it was a failure because I mentioned this reminded me of the Bandits for the last few years. Like they had the best roster. You can't fall short, and they did fall short. So I do think it'll go down as a failure. And I don't think it takes a wise person to say that. I think come on, it's not groundbreaking. I want them to show the Saskatchewan Rush how to rebound, how to take revenge, because I thought the Rush were going to do that. And the Rush last year, losing the finals, did not do that. Now that Vancouver, this might sting worse. I don't know what stings more, like Saskatchewan losing a second half the way they did of that game 3, or Vancouver getting smacked before they even got going in the playoffs. I feel like this one might hurt worse because of the way it happened. I am begging them to use this and show the Rush what I thought they could have done, which is go on this monster run, never look back, take every Grim Reaper door and just kill them all, dude. Show me that, please, because I know they can do it. And one more thing I'll mention is I have had my fun with Vancouver this year. I have had so much tweets, so much talking points, but I know a lot of these guys are from the area, and I tweeted before after the game. I was like, guys, it's not going to take me to tell them, hey, this is a bad look. They know they're going to be living in the freaking community every day, and they are going to be, unfortunately, because of the NLL, the most accessible athletes. It's good and sometimes it sucks. So I feel for them, and for the first time in a while, I'll be rooting for them next year. Like not just a couple of guys like Del Bianco and some others like Clarich. I'm rooting for them all because they are in that city, and I think in a town that chokes, much like I wish I would have known about the Swarm after the Falcons crap happened. It would have been nice to know the Swarm existed. So if you're a sports fan, you really care about like that, I think Vancouver winning a championship would be awesome for that city, and it would go a long way. So there you go. That hurt to say. Next up for this conversation, wow, speaking of, like, we'll jump from one thing to another. Bandits Dynasty. Let's reflect on that now. I'm in an emotional roller coaster right now.
You really are, Mike. And listen, I guess in terms of like reflection, one of the greatest runs, the greatest runs in lacrosse, one of the greatest runs in sports. You think of the back-to-back-to-back championships. You think of, just even the prior 3 seasons before, making 5 in a row. You put all that together. This team, as it stands for, this group with Matt Vince probably retiring, Paul Dawson and Kyle Buchanan. We'll see what happens with them probably retiring. This group, as we know it, is done, and an era, a chapter has been closed. And you got to give your flowers to what they did. And I just most especially want to give a big shout out to Scott Loeffler for, a big role in what he does in creating Bandit Land, having that environment within the team, having the Buffalo Bandits being taken care of, first class organization, the coaching staff, what a great job they've done. Steve Dietrich, him building this championship team and the great job that he's done with drafting. Everyone is though like talking about this dynasty is done and over with. Can't you lose one year and win the next year? And like, if they go 3 out of 4, like
Dane and Josh also exist, but go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if they can find a goalie that's in its prime, and maybe add a piece, like find a piece for Dawson, find a piece for Buchanan.
McKay's only 31.
Like, they're not dead. The Bandits aren't dead. They're dead this year. The run isn't over. Yes, this group, as we know it, is done. But I'm sorry, as a Buffalo Bills fan, I had to live within 2 dynasties of the New England Patriots. I understand that them just losing 1 year does not mean this dynasty is done. The run of this group, it might be over. But if they retool here, Mike, and they come in next year hungry, embarrassed that they just lost, this is a team that could still win a championship. This is probably a team that if they didn't lose to Oshawa in the last game of the year, they were probably hosting a game this weekend, and we're probably talking about them being in the Final Four. But the worst matchup imaginable for them in round 1, going into Georgia against the hottest goaltender on the planet, against a goalie that's had a historic year and a defense that just overwhelms you with athleticism, and an offense that decided to say, hey, we're pretty nasty. We can score too. It was absolutely there. It was absolutely there. And so I just don't think that this quote unquote dynasty is over, because if you go back to back to back, lose 1 year, and if they win, like, how are we not talking about, if we go, like, what are we talking about here? They go 3 of 5, like, that's still a dynasty in my books.
Be nice, Captain.
Too old. Listen, the contract thing is going to be real. That's why I'm talking with
Vancouver kind of bothers me too.
Abundantly clear is that the contracts, especially next year, when a lot of things actually do come into play. So that is something that is abundantly clear. Couple legends out of
he's trying the Bandits, of course.
No, I know what he's trying to do.
Whatever.
I know what he's trying to do.
I know.
But for me, I'm not ready to have the funeral of this Bandits dynasty. We can talk about the legendary careers likely once they make their decisions, and that's fine and dandy. But yeah, is it going to be difficult for them to find a free agent to bring in to sign? Yes, it's going to be challenging. But there's going to be guys that are going to take team-friendly deals just to help and possibly, play with those two guys, Josh and Dane, to try to win a championship. But also look at what Steve Dietrich's been able to do with drafting and developing talent. Taylor Dooley is a guy that's been, waiting in the wings. He becomes a full-time player next year. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So
Mr. Snoop, by the way.
Yep. Like Steve Priolo, I know he didn't play. Don't know what's going on with his injury. That was a massive loss. I don't know necessarily. I don't think they win the game.
Nope.
Maybe it's not as ugly without him. But if he comes back next year, it's like, okay, like, I don't know, Mike. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say, because I think as long as they find a goalie that isn't in their system right now, I think this team can be a championship contender once again.
I think they will find a goal. It's just like when does that happen? I'll do the hard cap thing, man, because I want to take a moment to appreciate people here. You mentioned Scott Loeffler, obviously great on social media. He interacts with everybody. Good stuff. John Tavares, I know you don't mean to not mention him, but I'm going to call it now the most underrated coach in the league now, which doesn't, like, it shouldn't be that way. They're 100%. So good, and they make so many adjustments. It's just everybody else. This is like, or the greatest player of all time doing what literally no other GOAT player could ever do, become the greatest coach of all time, possibly. I mean, the resume might speak for itself. Like, it's unbelievable. No sport sees a guy go from GOAT to GOAT bench guy. It doesn't make sense. Go ahead.
And not just that. And yes, how could I not mention it? Of course, you got to give him his flowers as well. The fact that he's able to get these guys to buy in every year. And so with getting guys like Chris Cloutier and Chase Fraser to be role players is impressive. They leave, but then for him to completely revamp the offense, and also for him to have the humility that at the start of the year, they were trying different things and it just wasn't working. So they went back to the same thing. Steve Dietrich, similar thing. They kind of went back. The defense went exactly to what they were doing from previous years, obviously outside of being inside the crease and blocking shots on the penalty kill. But they kind of went back to that. The offense was a blend. They were doing stuff that they were doing at the start of the year, attacking from the corners, but still then allowing Dane and Josh to attack from the top, dodging downhill. That is impressive to me, that you are able to have all these great superstars buy in and allow them to still, you have the wherewithal to say, you're Dane Smith, you're Josh Byrne, you guys are very smart too. This is a collaborative effort. We're going to talk this through. It's not, this is my team, this is how we're going to run this offense, come hell or high water. That's what we're doing. So you are 1000% right. And actually this year, I think that this would be the more obvious of years where Coach Tavares probably should be in the coach of the year candidate. And I think, again, we're not allowed to give out our ballots, so I won't give out our ballots. JT was in the top 2 of my ballot. That's all I'll say. I'll say he was on my ballot.
I would have gone with top 3 if you're going to go that far. Just say top 3 or something like that. My God. So one thing I'll say about Joe Rez is about which giveaway. Good Lord, Michael. About Tavares was they were 4-6, and once again they locked back in and made a run. So that was big time. Clay Scanlon, only 24. He showed life this year. Can I just mention that a guy who probably had a not great year for himself, and I just said his freaking name like an idiot, but he had a down year, but has not had a full year of Buffalo Joe. Like, we got to see Even if you retire next year, I'm begging Fresh Fish champion and resident Bills fan Joe Rosatiris to just give me one Buffalo Bandits here, just one. Well, a final, run with the Bandits. Like he can be a part. And also, can we imagine like we won a Buffalo Vancouver final this year, but can I interest you in one next year?
Yes, please. Absolutely.
That would make this seem like almost like we would forget about everything. It'd be like
the thing
Men in
is,
Black thing.
The thing with Joe Rez, it's a great point, and obviously not the way that he envisioned kind of his start with Buffalo to go, but I think the move, and he's 36 years old, so we obviously not getting any younger, but I think moving to Buffalo, playing in his hometown, being able to drive to practice, be able to drive to home games, reduce travel, is actually going to extend his career. I think that this is the best thing for him. And I think if he continued to play in Philadelphia, maybe it was like 1-2 more years left. But instead, I think we're going to see a couple more years out of Joe Rez. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year next year. And I think the league should be on notice. Instead of saying, ding dong, the witch is dead, I think this is more of a case where the witch is out for a bit and it's coming back with a shiny broomstick. And it's learned some new tricks, and it's going to be rolling here.
I know this is not how that goes, but the witch becomes the BITCH you don't want to meet in the finals.
That's probably a good accurate assumption. Yeah.
Another thing is I won't share a story like the complete story of this, but just know that I had a really fun Matt Vince moment during or after this game. I'll ask around if I can share that one day, but I feel like it's not just my story to tell. But I want to give a shout out to Matt Vince. I mean, again, I told to Captain, that catwalk is an intimate feeling up there. Like if you're a photographer, like you're just like you feel emotional. Like just seeing Matt Vince pregame, seeing it come apart like it did, knowing that was my only time I might ever see him play NLL. Oh my God, it felt so good. It just like felt like, man, like every moment, I didn't care how many saves he did or didn't make. I was like, man, that's the guy. Even like in the fourth quarter when the game was like dead to rights, for him to be out there dropping to his 43-year-old knees, man, thank you, Matt Vince. Because you didn't have Evan Constantinopolis could have finished that freaking game. I almost wonder, and I don't know anything about it. I almost wonder if Matt Vince and John Tavares just knew I'm finishing this game no matter what. Like he should have been out in the game, but he wasn't.
Yeah. Fair point, Mike. I think you said it best. Pretty special that potentially you just you saw his last game. I think that I'm not surprised that he showed some grace and class, and I think Adam Levy put out a tweet and said, he's not just a legend in the NLL or the game of lacrosse, like we're talking sports. And I do 1000% agree. I think this is a guy that when it's all said and done, will have awards named after him. And I think he's probably a guy that should be in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Not Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame.
All of them.
Canadian Sports Hall of Fame.
All of them. Every Hall of Fame you can think of. And one more thing I want to mention, just like maybe conversation for another day, obviously. I have a take on the hard cap. I'll tell you now and I'll expand on later for a later show. I hear about the hard cap, but you don't think guys in Vancouver or Buffalo, like certain areas, like how much is the cap? Like is it like millions and millions of dollars? No, it's like there's ways I believe if guys are humble enough, like does it really matter to certain guys? That's my take on it. It matters to certain players, yes.
I can't wait to hear the full take here, Mike. It'll be interesting.
I think the league will change a little bit. I think the stars are going to be the stars regardless.
Okay.
Let's just do this one and then we'll let you go here. Who is the best team left? Like we can pick them all day. Who's the best team left in your opinion?
This is
tough.
It's a tough one. I think
God,
I'm leaning Toronto.
Yeah.
Based off your question, the best team. You look at the offense, it's young, it's athletic, but have some veterans, obviously has some good depth scoring. Look at what Bushi and Dowick did. Mark Matthews, a guy that's already, won a championship, multiple championships. You look at the defense, just littered with freaks all over the floor. Nick Rose is playing some unbelievable lacrosse right now.
God.
So I think I'm going to say Toronto is the best team left. But I think Georgia just has this team of destiny vibes towards it. Brett Dobson, I think, can carry that team to the finals. I think the defense is so impressive. The offense, like if I don't know how this group doesn't win if they're scoring 12 plus goals a game now. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't see too many teams being able to score 10, 11, 12 goals against Georgia. So part of me says Toronto, part of me says Georgia, Mike, but you didn't give me the option to pick multiple teams here. So I'll go with Toronto, but man, I know I'm going to catch heat from Brett Dobson. So I'm going to say that Georgia is they're the team that I think Toronto is the best team, but if I had to pick a team to win it all right now, I think it's Georgia. If that makes any sense.
If I clip this, I think Brett Dobson Lover is going to do a lot of carrying on that too. I shouldn't say, but on Wednesday I'm unveiling my complete list. But how do I just let you answer that and not me? I'll scrap that segment. I may redo it Wednesday. I don't know. Toronto.
Here's the thing, though.
Go ahead.
Here's the one thing. Before, if you do. No one's going to believe me, but I think that if any one of these four teams were to win a title now, like, I wouldn't be surprised. I can make a case for any four of these teams to win right now, honestly.
And the Tim Dillon, who's known as the prophet in our Dilly Dive lore now, is has Halifax winning. And wouldn't you believe who I think was right all year, and I've been wrong the last 6 weeks. Toronto, I think their offense is the key for me. I think their offense is the most trustworthy, even though the Swarm have picked it up. But in a 3-game series, I like their offense. Number 2 would be Georgia, because that defense is something crazy. Like, if there's a team that can limit a good offense, it's the one that just made Dane Smith look like he wasn't even there. And I was like, well, there's no way. You told me all year Jacob Hickey was awesome. Oh, my God. Every single time you want to make a cut, nope. Like, well, how do you get past this guy? And I don't even know if he's that physical. He beats you he predicts every move you make. I can't. Oh, wow, that's crazy. 3 Halifax and 4 San Diego. I do think Halifax is a bigger gap to 4 than 1 does to 3, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
I think Birds and Swarm's going to be a movie.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I did ask Cuomo about that. Like, do y'all remember what happened a couple of weeks ago in this barn? He kind of laughed. I love it.
Yeah. I'm sure he's probably thinking Shanahan's probably not going to play too much action over the next couple of games in this series.
Isn't he a Buffalo legend, Devlin Shanahan?
Sure, yeah.
He's got a couple of Robin Hood cartoon. Anyways, thank you, Pat Gregoire. We're not doing 3 stars, and Greggy's Grinder will return next year. But I appreciate you as always. Nice merch you got on, sir. NLL, of course. And you know your game next week, or any of them, or not yet?
Yes, I do.
Oh, Thursday. No kidding. I don't know. Or you're not allowed, if you're not allowed to say it, then don't tell me.
Oh, next week. I thought you were talking about this
coming weekend.
Yes, I do know. I don't think I think it's been announced. I don't know if it's been announced.
No, we'll leave it alone. We'll leave it alone.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
But yes, if you turn on TSN at some point this weekend, you'll see my ugly mug.
I mean, the suits carry the weight for you. So thank you, sir. OTCB podcast on YouTube with Teddy, who did a fantastic solo job for a majority of that show. But thank you. Great call as always. We're just going to end the show here because, like I said, nothing to do. Thank you, Pat Regard. Thank you, Captain. NLL's awesome. I don't care what you say. Bye.